Give me a minute. So my buddy Steve Kennedy here, in response to the video about the two jets that were destroyed yesterday by the Ukrainians, the two Russian SU-30s that were taken out. In my video, I said, we don't know what happened to the second one, that it could have been hit on the ground at the Saki airfield. And he said, no, I've seen both hit over the Black Sea by the drone. Okay. I would love a link to that video because I can't find it. But your comment led me to go looking again. And I did find something interesting. So take a look at this post, this Telegram post from Kremlin Snuffbox. The enemy has launched another large-scale attack. 2 aircraft have been lost. Unfortunately, there are casualties. Now, we know that the video of the SU-30 being shot down from the Magura V5 drone, that crew ejected safely and were picked up by a local cargo vessel. Now, he goes on, right, so that's all that he says here. For obvious reasons, we cannot write about much about the consequences of the large-scale attack of drones, missiles, and BEK that the enemy carried out on Saturday night. We must only state so far that our calls to strengthen air defense to cover important military facilities have not been heard. And this concerns not only Crimea, I bet it does, with Putin stashing a dozen Pantsir S-1s at every one of his palaces, right? To protect his palaces. We must, at the request of military sources, report the following as a result of the attack. 2 SU-30 aircraft were lost. Many colleagues wrote about the loss of the one in the Novorossiysk area, but unfortunately the enemy hit 2 aircraft. So that seems to indicate that the second aircraft was not hit in the Novorossiysk area, which would make sense. If it took off from Saki, it would be over, by Sevastopol, maybe Feodosia, depending on what the flight path was. Unfortunately, the enemy hit 2 aircraft. We call on all colleagues, since we are disclosing sensitive information, let's disclose it in full. That will be fair. So again, I have no evidence, no video evidence to suggest that the plane was in flight at the time, that it wasn't on the ground, on the runway, being scrambled. I just don't know. And I have no evidence to answer that question. So if anybody has any evidence, I would love to see it. Now, this post goes on, and the next bit, I think, is very revealing of the Russian military attitude towards civilians. Somebody brought up the Tatskaya nuclear test to me today. And if you've never heard of that, I would not be surprised. But it happened in the Soviet Union back in the mid-1950s, like 1954, I want to say. And what the Russians did was they dropped an A-bomb on Russia. They cleared out like say 10-mile area where they were going to drop the bomb. So there were no civilians there. But that was it. The civilians 10 miles out were told, when it happens, lie on the ground or take cover. Everybody within 12 miles of the detonation point was dead from cancer, radiation poisoning, inside of a few months. Not only did they do that, they dropped it on their own land, their own people, and their own troops to test how far out would they be in danger. What gear worked, what gear didn't work. They used their own people as test subjects. Now look at what it says here. He reports losses from the attack on Crimea. 7 soldiers were killed. Several important objects were damaged, but no details. It has become clear once again that during military operations, civilian infrastructure in the conventional rear is not protected from them. Drones and missiles often fly unpredictably. Some of our acquaintances in the Ministry of Defense gloat about this. saying that after footage of drones flying into residential buildings, more people will understand that we are at war and will join the army, or at least improve their attitude toward the military. I mean, yeah, I guess. Now what's very telling about this is that this comes on the heels of the attack on Novorossiysk, where Russian pantsers flew into apartment buildings on at least 2 occasions. So the local air defense, their rockets were intercepted by local residential complexes, and people lost their lives. This negligent, casual attitude toward human life as fundamentally disposable is an obscenity before God, in my opinion, and part and parcel of the Russian way of life.